Welcome, gatekeepers. Yes, hit that like and thank you so much. Thank you so much. And please, subscribe if you have not. We need all the help we can get here, as you can see. Welcome in, gatekeepers. Well, it must be Sunday. Hello, Stephen. How's everybody? How's Nick? My love all around, as you know. Um, So first announcement, first things first, welcome in Ted, my wonderful mods, Scott's Life, good to see you, good to see you. Hello, Lord Connor, how are you? Paradox Fossils, nice to see you, nice to see you. Hey, Jack, yep, like mine's. I'm telling you what, I caught a cold in Oklahoma. I hear it, can you hear it? It's a shame. Okay, raw garlic, chop it, wait 7 minutes, chop it again, mix it into salsa, 3 cloves a day. Ask Derek, ask anybody here that's tried it. And if it starts to get, don't let it get in your lungs or your head. You just breathe those fumes in, like chop the garlic, put it in a bag. Now eat it 3 times a day, must be raw. I can't tell you. I wish I had $1 every time somebody said, I eat garlic all the time and put it in spaghetti sauce. That's great. Wonderful. Once you cook it, you cut it in half. You know what I mean? So listen to me. Raw garlic and breathe the fumes. The fumes are strong enough to kill bacteria in a petri dish 18 inches away. Look up the study. It's an amazing thing. So breathe the fumes in, hold it up in your head so it can kill all the bacteria and infection in your sinuses and down in your lungs. Hold it down in there and then eat the salsa 2-3 times a day. You can need it more. Look, it's food. You can't overdo it. You know that your stomach and your stuff is going to tell you, but you can do it too little. So you want to treat it like you would treat an antibiotic. You're going to want to do it every 6 hours, every 4 hours, depending on how sick you are. Keep it up for a couple of days and it'll get rid of it. That on top of whatever you're doing, and it won't get good. Slow, I'm telling you. It kept the royals alive through the medieval times and the plagues and all that stuff. That along the fact that they cooked with silver, and the silver got in the food, and of course they were eating on silver, and you always lose a little bit of silver, and silver is like amazing against viruses and plagues and diseases and stuff like that. If I didn't say hi to you, I apologize. I will catch you along the way. I hope to. Jim, welcome in. So here's the thing right off the bat. Garlic, number 1. I want you better. I want you good. I suggest you get it. I suggest you grow it if you can. If all you have is a porch, you need a 5-gallon bucket. I don't care if all you have is a cardboard box. Look it up. Look on the inner tubes. There's lots of ways to grow garlic, potatoes, and things like that in a small area. Garlic is one of those things that you might be very glad you had it if you can't get a hold of something else, or if it's something right at the ready, or you just need that extra push over the top to get rid of something. A lot of people were saying that they had this something or other that was going around. It was like a cold that wouldn't let go. It kept getting in your chest, and it just wouldn't. It was kept hanging on. They did the salsa thing for like 2-3 days. Gone. I think Derek was one of them. I don't want to speak for him, but if he's in here and he hears it, I know he'll jump in and go, yes. So there's that. Look it up, research for yourself, look up raw garlic, natural cures, and just behold what is nature. Tick bite last week. We all been there, told you about it. So here it is. Organic cigarettes, bite me. So again, to each his own. So here's the thing. Tonight's episode, lighter, the light beings and the darker ones. Lynn and I had a wonderful conversation this morning, touching base on multiple things, and came up with this show. She's got a new book coming out, and I don't want to give the wrong title, so I'll let her do that when she comes back on. And also some things that had happened, in a home she was in, a different one than the first one from the first book. And some things that have been happening recently that are really cool, as far as a lot of people getting downloads, a lot of people getting more and more of these light beings visiting them in many different stages of whatever that the light being may be. We'll talk more on that in a minute. But conscious, I say, and she agreed with me on this, and I'll let her speak for herself, but is changing. This great awakening. Hey, Uncommon, welcome in. This great awakening, whatever you want to call it, the shift, paradigm shift, the consciousness shift. There's so many different words for it, names for it, paths you can go down, but it all pretty much means the same thing, that there's a change. Not everybody's lifting. Some people are descending away from it and headed towards that other side, kind of like the stand that split. And I'm sorry, so many notifications here. Hey, Kai, welcome in. Hi, sweetie. Hey, Jack, did I say hi to you, sweetheart? I did. I'm sorry. So there's that going on, and it seems to be amping up because last week and the week before, I don't know if you guys are hearing the same thing, or if you guys talk about this kind of stuff with anybody else, or you've got that, your tribe you could, or that person, special person you can talk to that understands this kind of stuff. Well, as best you can, because who really does? All we're doing is spitballing and guessing and putting theories together and hoping for the best, right? So it seems to me a lot of people are getting those. So whether you want to talk about it as far as the downloads, people dreaming, people having maybe more lucid dreaming, maybe more out-of-body experiences, everybody is not the same, but it seems to be in the same realm of things. They're getting information, or they're understanding information, or they're seeing something that they knew all this time, presumably so, but are now seeing it in a different light, or getting more of it, or a confirmation, all of these things, and any combination of those things. So we were talking about that, and I said, absolutely. And she was also talking about a lot of people getting pictures, and of course there's an upswing, and it would normally be because now you've got Ring doorbells, and you've got CC cameras, and everybody's got a camera in their pocket or their hand or whatever, or the videos and the tickety talks and selfies and videotaping themselves exercising and dancing with stuff going on in the background. People are catching all kinds of things, and people are faking all kinds of things. So take all of that out and just ask yourself, is it possible we're seeing more light beings and catching them in some of these things on CCTV or pictures in the backyard that they're allowing us to take? Because let's face it, if they didn't want us, they wouldn't show up. Just like a lot of these trail cams, where there's, people talking about different things coming in from, a Bigfoot or a dog man or some other cryptid or any other thing that might be, looking like it's got some kind of camouflage, like the Predator kind of camouflage stuff, or it might just be blurry. Everybody laughs and says, why are all the Bigfoot pictures blurry? Well, Steve and I have and quite a few other people that I've talked to have a thought on that it's a frequency, and that's going to show up differently. Much like we've seen film and how we film things or how we record things change over the decades I've been alive, right? And each one seems to capture different things differently. Where someone will talk about the best EVP I ever got was on an old cheap cassette player, or it was an old reel-to-reel, or the best picture I got was on a Polaroid, or it was on 35 millimeter, that kind of stuff. And as things change, of course, you're going to see an influx of stuff. That being taken in, for granted right up front, I still think we're seeing more. And I don't know whether it's just that it's happening more, we're noticing more, we're capturing it more, we're discussing it more, and they know we're noticing, so therefore they're doing it more. I don't know. So Lynn and I were going to talk about that. But one of the last things we talked about on our conversation, and I'm going to share it all with you, things that we had planned for the show and things coming up. But we talked about how that stuff that you and this chat's talked about many times on this show, about how once you start helping or gaining ground, helping something will get in your way to make it more difficult or slow it down or keep you from doing it. Very much like, say, the medium or the priest or whoever is going to, the paranormal team that's going to help the people at the haunted house, and on the way there they get lost, or the GPS sends them the wrong way, or they get a flat tire, or all the above, or they lose their keys, and things like this that stumble them along the way. Well, that's the dark side getting in the way. And depending on what you're dealing with, depends on the degree of how bad you'll be messed with, and how hard they're going to try to stop you, and what their power is, and what they know they can do, and how bad they want to stop you. And of course, that level changes with the level of the entity or the being you're dealing with. So that being said, all of that's kind of known up front. But Lynn and I were talking, and the last thing I said is, once you start gaining ground, like I just said, and you start getting to the point where you're reaching out and you're trying to help that one person pull through a tough week, or you're trying to, send out that of boys to somebody that's still going against the grain, or it's not easy, and the undertow is getting rough, but they're still swimming, and we want to, because we're all going through it. Every single one of us has it, whether name your poison, you know what I mean? It's where you work, it's how you get to work, it's who you live with, it's who you don't live with, whatever, name it. Because all of the attacks and all of the little arrows that stumble us along our way, they're increasing too, if you hadn't noticed. So not only that, but the fear arrows, coming from every which way you go, the headlines, the TV, the radio, it's in the music, it's in the billboards, it's, good Lord. It's like that movie, who was it? With Rowdy Roddy. I hope he just smiled. Rowdy Roddy Piper. It's my favorite all-time wrestler. Anyway, great ghost story, by the way. Look it up on the YouTubes. Rowdy Roddy's ghost story. Listen to it closely. It's an amazing multi-level ghost story. So, what was the movie? They Live? They Live, guys? Thank you, Jack. They Live. And he takes off the glasses and he can see what the sign really says, obey, or it really says this, or whatever. Okay, we know all that. They've been the programming. Anybody that doesn't pay attention to that has never studied war, because war is deception, programming, propaganda, and death, and money on both sides. And usually the same person's making the money on both sides, follow the money. So that being said, I said, anytime you reach out and you start, like I said, gaining ground and helping somebody even a little bit, or giving somebody your spirit guides a way to get info out there, like Lynn and I try to do, or Steve and I try to do, or anybody on this show really tries to do. It gets in your way. So you guys may not know it, but 3 in a row guests that we were having on here to talk to you guys about things like that. Different, you always go in through different doorways. Oh, what's in here? But it always leads to the same thing: good versus evil, a spiritual warfare, a conspiracy, a true crime, again, good versus evil, justice versus injustice, lies versus truth, the whole thing. And it always tries to lead with a happy ending, even if we're talking about axe murders or, whatever. It's like where you just try, that's what we try to do here. 3 in a row has had to cancel right before the show, due to severe, I would say, intimate family emergencies, like hospital emergency room. Tonight, Lynn had to cancel just a few minutes before the show because she's on her way to the vet with her puppy. So please, let's send her good energy. I have no information, and I certainly don't want to spread her business on here, but I don't think she would mind if we send her prayers and good energy, and our thoughts are with her, because it was right before the show. So she must have something very important to share tonight. That would have helped a lot of people, because this has happened 3 times in a row. So I'm telling you all of that. Hey, Echo, welcome in. Telling you guys all that because if you're light workers, you're having this happen too. And I want you to see it for what it is and try not to be frustrated. So say you're in a hurry and trying to go to work and you can't find your keys. Yes, vibes. Thank you, honey. And I have no other information other than that. And I'm hoping that, I don't want her to stop and, put things in the chat. Just handle what you got to handle and don't worry about us. We got you, honey. So again, you're probably going through it too. So if you're, trying to get to work and you can't be late, or something's going on, you can't find your keys, I want you to see it for what it is and go, Cisco said, stop, And then I want you to put your energy out there, that good energy, and I want you to visualize the key. I want those keys back here, and I want them back right now. And I want you to give whatever the universe an opportunity to walk out of the hallway, walk in the other room, and expect when you come back, you're going to find those keys and you're going to get to work, because you're going to ask your spirit guides to help you over that hump, over that hurdle, around that mountain, that little speed bump, and ask them. And do not get discouraged if it doesn't happen the first time, because it has to do with confidence and manifestation. And I want you to think about it. It's like, this isn't going to stop me. I'm going to get those keys. I'm not going to be frustrated. You're not going to change my vibration. You're not going to take me down, this little stuff, and you're just going to have to stay focused and driven, especially if you're going to help somebody, or if you're doing something good in the light, because we're being stopped. They're pulling out their stops. They're gaining bravado. They're not gaining power or ground or anything else. It's hubris. And it'll take them down. Trust me, that's how dark, I'm telling you, they're overconfidence. Because we're not confident in ourselves. We're confident in what we believe in, that the light is always going to beat the dark. Whatever your name in your light, your flavor, your mileage may vary. I'm just telling you, that's how it works. If I find out 10 minutes from now that I was completely wrong, the last thing I would do is hit this button, go live, and go, I was wrong, as I go into the floor or whatever. But I'm not. Hey, Davey. Absolutely. So the thing is, that's not just me saying it. Light beats dark. And I think, because like I said, the entire thing we were going to do tonight in the show, and Lynn and I were going to do for you, had to do with that. And why are we seeing more light beings? They're coming. I think they're coming to tell us, to give us that nudge, that pat on the back, that we see you, that angel number, that 111, that bumper sticker, or that validation, that cardinal, the butterfly, whatever it may be. That visit, you're in the back and you're taking pictures of your puppy, or your loved one mowing the grass and going, oh, look, it's hot out here, but we're still working. And then all of a sudden you start seeing things in the trees that may or may not be a fairy, or a light being, or some kind of a light anomaly, or an orb, or any of those things. And of course, when we see those things right away on the internet, we want to say, this is a fake, this is CGI. And of course, I'm going to say, at this point, probably 90% are, because we're just so flooded with it. We're not just flooded with it on the inner tubes because there's more of it. I think we're flooded on it because there's more being faked as well. And you can tell sometimes right out, and then some are a little harder. But again, as I always say on this show when we talk about this, I implore you to think about just accepting it and going, wow, as kind of a practice of discernment, going, don't really believe that one. I'm going to give that one a 5. I'm going to be on the middle fence on that one. Or, I'm kind of believing in that one. That one's more of a 3, holy crap, that one's an 8. If it's a fake, it's a good one. But look at all the stuff out there that, I can remember 5, 6, 7 years ago, the big thing was the apps where you could put a ghost in a picture, or you could do this. And some of them, people were buying some of that. People were looking at that and what might be to us like an obvious fake. And they were going, wow, look at, I saw one the other day where there was 4 guys. They were like gaming or having a Zoom meeting or whatever it was. They were, screwing around. And then all of a sudden this thing flew behind this one guy, and all 3 of them acted really good about it. I don't know who was pulling what on who, how many people were in on it, who knew what, but I can tell you right now, I've used that GIF in my videos, and to me, it looks skeptical believer. There you go, Slow. Very good. But the thing is I don't want the darkness to use that to where we don't believe anything anymore. We start questioning our own. That's not where I'm going to ask you, please don't do that. So I need you to still keep believing in the good stuff, and the angel number, and the bumper sticker that showed up when you needed, and it said that word, whatever it was, it validated something for you, or that person validating something. I need you to accept it more, and I'll tell you why. Because when we go through that little thing where we go, silly me, even though I was thinking about mom and that cardinal showed up and I'm just, psh, they get weaker because you just kind of almost slammed the door in their face. So keep the door open and just like, oh, wow, what a great message. I needed that. Thank you. You're going to walk away feeling better. And if it is a real message, they're going to feel better. Does that make sense? And what I mean by they is whoever came to give you that message or that validation or that moment, whether it be a loved one or a spirit guide, an angel, whatever, you're going to give them more energy and they're going to do it more. And you're going to receive it in a better place. And you're going to go up with your vibration high. Because, guys, I think they're turning up the dial when it comes to being able to come in and hit. We're forgetting to put our protection on. We're forgetting to do the sage, to lay out the crystals, to toss the salt, to do whatever, to make the signs and do the things. We're just going about our business and we're not taking those moments first thing in the morning and moments last thing at night. Maybe, saying a little something over your food before you eat it to try to block that negative. At this point, right, Vixen, at this point, you didn't get your notification. I'm sorry, sweetie. It's not me, I promise. If it was up to me, nobody'd get one, I guess. I don't know. So anyway, my point is they're amping it up. We got to amp it up. And we know the rules. We know what wins. Life can stumble us about and make us forget those things. And I really honestly think, and so did Lynn before all this happened. And I'm sure she's doing, God bless her, but that was her message when we were talking on the phone too, about they're amping it up because they know we need it. And we have to, if we're not accepting the messages from the light beings, or at least the smile, at least the pat on the back, or the, I don't know what it may be. You find $20 in an old coat, I don't know, and you needed it, whatever it may be. It was a shock you didn't get a notification. I don't know. Vixen, I found something out, not to change the subject or anything, but I think you guys need to know this. I found out a couple of weeks ago that it all depends too on when I load it. Like if I have cover art, I have to get my cover art done. I have to get the title, have to know what I'm doing that night, because a lot of times it changes, as you see the last 3 in a row. And one of them was a, pretty big show that we will be doing, but that person could not come on because they were on the way to the emergency room for one of their humans, and I'm like, wow, man, it's something. And it's happening to more than just me, and me, I'm going to come here and we're going to talk, we're going to visit, we'll tell some ghost stories or an alien something or other, and we'll have a good time. We're going to do something. We're having a show, one way or another. I just feel bad for the people, because I knew they had a good message to come on here and give you guys hope and maybe something to think about in the upcoming week, or to help you shed whatever was going on with you last week, or, it's getting rough out there. So, and they don't want you to hear the good news that we know what wins. So either way, we're going to get the message out there. So there that is. Lynn will be back on. This was her once a month where she comes in to help us close down the month, and she will be back. Now, there's a really good reason she might be back even more, and I'm thinking about either adding another night or taking every 2 weeks doing one of these shows, because we have a really interesting thing planned for the summer. And I want to talk to you about it a little bit later on in the show, but about 9 o'clock, we'll start talking about that. And I'm going to try to do my best to bring forward a little bit of the show that Lynn and I were going to do for you. But she had a personal experience about the dark side in this one house. Like I said, a different one than the omnipresent was in. Believe it or not, this poor woman. And she had a good experience and some good things to share about downloads and help from the other side and light beings and stuff like that. So I certainly can't share her stories, and she's gonna have to come back on and do that, but I can interject a little bit towards that, and then we'll move on to some other stuff. So it's going to be a potpourri tonight I hope that's cool with you. Um, yep, her puppy will be fine, Echo. You bet. It's going to be, nothing but good stuff. So we wanted to do that, and we also wanted to send out at the end of this. Do you remember when we all got together and we thought, now you don't have to purchase, of course you don't have to, nobody's gonna come hit you over the head with something if you don't, your heart's got to be in it. If you're a light worker, it helps. But when we all stood together and imagined that we were all like almost like taper candles in a dark room, and each one of us was like a candle with a flame, and the flames are flickering, and we're all just hanging out being a candle, and we're in a circle, and we imagine our candle just tipping and leaning into the next person next to us, the flame, and then so on and so on and so on all around till it makes one big ring of fire. Not a bad ring of fire, but a beautiful ring of light. And then each one is feeding off of the other, and then coming up, and your flame is stronger because you leaned in and you got a little extra. So we're going to do that at the end. But what Lynn and I wanted to do at the end was incorporate into that, not just sending good energy to us around the circle, but I wanted to imagine in the center of the circle, us sending out as light workers, good energy to the light beings and the spirit guides and everybody else. And believe me, the Fae, the entities that are part of nature that need our help, the nature of animals, these beautiful birds and wonderful raccoons, and the flora and the fauna and the trees and everything else that has just gone through so much lately. These wildfires, and the movement of people, and the development of these communities out of nowhere, and everything getting shifted and pushed. I think it's important for us to take a moment and send that back out, almost like we're going to imagine all of those light beings in the center, and we're just sending back good energy to them, because so many times it is very much like a shamanic meditation. It's just a very simplistic, but most of the good stuff is, that, Vixen. So we're going to do that at the end, because I promised Lynn that we would, and she is going to let some light beings she's been talking to know that we're doing this, because they've come and told that they need it. They need it. They need to know that we care. They know that we're also going through a lot in our journey and our ascension, whatever, and the stuff around us, and the craziness, and the circles of nuttiness that's going on around us, like it's 3-ring circus. We're stuck in the middle with you kind of thing. They understand that. They're aware of all of these things, no matter what level or what type of group my people are talking to. And she's not the first one I've heard this from. So I just think it's amazing, right? They know what we're going through. If you talk to mediums you're talking to spirits, they knew a lot of this was coming. They knew we were going to go through this time. Half of them knew us when we were over there. I mean, the stories I'm hearing is absolutely phenomenal, So, and I can't share you other people's stories, but take my word for it. Phenomenal. But they'll be here. If they can ever get here, they will tell you themselves. So it's just sending out the light to the light beings, and they can send it back to us if they feel, right? And all I want you to do is, if you want to participate in this, all we're doing is just imagining our flame that kind of, by Friday, it's kind of flickering a little bit. That wind is blowing a little stronger, and we're kind of, whoa, man, it's just like, don't put my light out. Don't put my light out, But if you do, you know how to get it back. But sometimes you got to lean into a friend or another light worker to get that. And if you are an empath of any kind, one of the, and I'm no expert, but the different levels of being an empath, you can have any combination of all those things. You be an earth empath, where you feel when the earth is really going through a lot of pain and a lot of shifting. You feel when nature goes through that. So if there's some kind of thing going on, like wildfires, or they get panicked and shifted a lot, you feel it, those kind of things. It helps you get recharged so you can get through the next week. We'll come back, we'll do it again. So that's what we were thinking anyway. Lynn and I wanted to do that for you guys, and we wanted you to participate in it if you like. And she's going to tell the light beings that she's communicating with we're going to send them back good energy, and we're aware. And if they are here to help, which there's no doubt in our minds they are, because they need help. They're worried too. You know, some of these things, can you imagine? I mean, Vixen backed me up on this. The elementals that are out in nature, and they're going through things too. Now, of course, the ones that are more of the negative variety, they're having a blast. The other ones, they could use a little boost. What are you saying here? Let me see. What'd you find? I can never say that gemstone is a psychophrase. I want to say call it psychophrase, but I always pronounce it wrong. So, yep, found a vintage necklace of psychophrase and the stone that connects you to nature. Yep, going into my medicine collection. Love it. And I'm getting so many. Is anybody else getting messages from nature here? You taking pictures and having things show up in your bushes, like more lights, and you know it's not a lightning bug. You know it's not a moth caught with the moonlight or any of those. And I can tell you, because if you are getting them, you're not the only one. More people are getting these, and it's not a bug, and it's not a bee, and it's not a moth. A lot of these things you see by lights are flying through yards. Of course they are, you know, but the things that we're finding on these ring cams and stuff like that, again, so one of the big things I see are like spider webs that got a little wet or have a little dew on them, and it'll just be like one thread in front of the camera, and it looks like a UFO, like 4 UFOs in a row in the sky, and it's just a spider web with some, you know, some light reflecting on the moisture. Things like that, you can kind of look at them and see. And then there's other ones where I believe it's not so much what you're seeing, but what you feel. Chrysophrase. Thank you so much, Ted. Appreciate that, honey. So it's the feeling you get when you see it. It's the feeling you get when you discover it or you're there. So what do I mean by that? Okay, say you're watering your flowers outside and you see a butterfly, and you notice the butterfly. Hey, that's a beautiful butterfly. That's cool, you know. And you noticed it, you acknowledged it, but you didn't get that pow with it. You didn't get that feeling with it. You didn't get that jolt, that little energy zap. And it's usually an energy zap of a warmth, and it's a feeling that goes through your core, right through your chakras and up your spine, you know? And it's a little different. And you can't talk yourself out of that intuition. You know, we can get it against bad things, like don't go that way, or we can get it like, wow, that was something. I know that was meant to mean something. You can do that with the pictures and stuff too, because it's all coming in on energy. If you're taking it in over the internet, it's coming in on energy, whether you like it or not. If you're getting it on a, you know, social media, same thing. That's why you feel so drained if you're on social media. It's stealing from you. It's an energy vampire. It really is. Anybody ever get stuck in one of those things where you're watching like cat videos? Next thing you know, you lost 45 minutes and where did it go? That's not an accident. That's on purpose. It's this like constant. It's the same thing as an old study they did, and I'm sure I'm going to get science things slung at me now, but it's similar to when they did lab tests with rats and cocaine, and they just gave them a thing, and you could hit the thing and get food, or they can hit the button and get cocaine. And once they allowed them to hit the button as much as they wanted, they just did it until that was it, until they died. It's similar to that. You know, we'll just keep hitting it. And it's an adrenaline endorphin boost. And it's next level propaganda. It really is, because it's meant to distract you and keep you from, you know, keep you complacent, hey cat, how you doing? And keep you moving and keep you distracted. Not doing what you were meant to be here for. Because if you pick to be here for this time as your soul on the other side, you didn't pick it to come in here and, you know, have it all that time stolen from you by, you know, just working and paying bills and getting all caught up in everything else and not taking time for you and taking time for what your soul came here to do. Does this make sense? Okay. And what your soul came here to do is kind of like the second half of what I'm going to pull up tonight. And a little early, I'm going to announce it. But since Lynn's not going to be here and I don't have her stories and stuff like that, I figured, you know what? I guess the guys just want me to tell you a little bit about it. And we'll talk about some other stuff too. But I have a little video for you. Of course I did. I made you a little video when Lynn and I decided what we're going to talk about tonight. And it's just a little something about light beings, because not everybody watching might know what I mean. You know, um, do I include things in nature? You bet I do. You know, are they ghosts? Are they spirit guides? Are they angels? Are they ascended beings? Are they yes. You know, and there's so many. And again, more than one person, I'm hearing that these light beings are coming in and going, you know what? We need a boost too. You know, nature needs a boost too. There's an awful lot of spiritual paths, and you know, you could even say religions and cults, whatever you want name you want to give things, that bring in nature, and it's very serious. Wiccan, tribal cultures, all of these, to give honor to nature, because where would we be? And you always feel better doing it. It always gives back. You know, we breathe out, they breathe, the trees and the plants, they breathe, take our waste and turn it around and filter it again and give it back to life-giving oxygen, right? We count on each other, and we constantly forget to have that balance, you know, to feed the birds. I feed chipmunks every morning and every evening. You know, cardinals and blue jays and crows. I get the craziest crow that comes down and just so happy to see me. And you know, it's so aware, Paradise. So aware. Absolutely agree. So I wanted to reach out and tell you guys that, because I know we can get so caught up in all this dastardly nuttiness that's going on and all the distractions they're trying to hit us with. And it's so hard, it's so hard to be that, like that, what's that old joke where the monk's sitting on the cliff and he's meditating and he's just oming it, he's just chill, and he's right there, and there's this fly, and the fly keeps going around and buzzing and landing, and he's not moving, and the fly gets up, and just keeps coming back, and he's not paying any attention. And the older monk says to the one in training or just coming up or whatever, says, see that's how I want you to be. And the young man in training looks up and says, yes, you want me to be like the monk who is undisturbed by the fly. And he says, no, grasshopper, I want you to be the fly. Don't let anything stop you from being what you are. It seems like it's so easy to get the obvious message, but by jumping in and going, that's the obvious message, we miss the real message. And that's kind of what I'm leaning on, and Lynn and I were both leaning on tonight, because we know good versus evil. We know we're in spiritual warfare. We know, and we know. But we forget, because we get caught up, and they want us caught up. They want us looking for our keys. They want us banging through the traffic. They want us messing with the doggone broken handle on whatever thing it is and being all frustrated. And if we just remember that, like, if we laugh through it, it breaks the spell. If we do whatever we have to do to raise our vibration while we're going through it, it doesn't have what's the word I'm looking for, chat, the grip on us. We still got to go through the thing, but it didn't get us all. It didn't make the dent in our armor that it wanted to, right? And it seems as soon as we forget to put on that armor or put on that protection or put on that bubble, this dark side knows all the cracks, it knows all the weaknesses, it knows where to push, it knows what to send in to get us distracted to have to go this way, or to try to stop us in our tracks on whatever path we're trying to make it on. And the more we're reminded that we have the power to get through that, small little simple things, just noticing when our spirit guides are saying you're on the right path, or maybe go this way, or maybe don't go that way, and acknowledging it. What's it going to hurt if we acknowledged it 10 times and they were only giving us a message 8? What did it hurt? They know what we're doing. They're not going to be upset by that. It's like, that wasn't us, but okay. They don't care. What they do care about is not being acknowledged at all. Does this make sense to you? Okay. Yep. When you meet your maker, you will laugh. I believe that, Echo. I bet because you just, you know, giddy, and your vibration has got to be high at that point, you know. Here's a quick one. I know, I want to say 2, maybe 3 mediums, they may call themselves psychic labels, that know, hey, Catherine, welcome in, that when certain people crossed over, because they have spirit guides that tell them the stories, and of course, with different conversations they're having with clients and whatever, and other mediums, I'm sure, this comes up. So some of my favorite celebrity stories of people crossing over, one of my very favorites one is George Carlin. As George Carlin was a self-pronounced atheist. I think as he got closer to the edge, he never said there wasn't something. He had his own special way. But anyway, they say when he came over, and it's so funny to hear this from different people, very similar things and almost the exact same words. It's phenomenal. So basically, he gets over there and gets with his beings, his ethereal beings, his ascended elders, whatever. And as soon as he's able to gather himself and say something, the first 2 words out of his mouth were "no shit." And he just laughed. And everybody laughed. So there's that. There's a lot more just like that, very similar. But let me go ahead and show you this little video I made, and I hope it kind of raised your vibrations. Lots of pretty colors, lots of pretty pictures, and I know, but it's true though, isn't it funny? You know, it's like no shit. You know, it's very cool, and that just goes to show that things aren't all proper, and you know what I mean, violins and all that kind of stuff either. You know, it's about as real as you think. So anyhow, this one is a little bit on light beings, and I was kind of trying to be very inclusive as well as elusive. Hey, and Edna, how you doing? Hadn't seen you in a long time. Thank you so much for being here. Good to see you too. You guys have no idea how much I think of you. Gosh, I haven't seen such and such a long time, and I send you happy thoughts and energy, and hope that you're doing well. And I also, since I've been doing this for years, I know that I might not hear from somebody for 5 years, and you think they're gone forever, and then when you're doing a call-in show, they call in, or they send you an email, or you get a letter in the mail, and it's just wonderful to hear from people that they're okay. So that's the main thing. Anyhow, it's wonderful. So good to see you. Welcome in. So I was trying to be a little vague in some of this, because I wanted people, this is a story, if you're going to tell a story or you're going to share a story, this one is even more so, I think, than say ghost stories and other things like that might be personal, because this is entities in nature that are starting. And then if you have anything to say on this, please throw it in there, Vixen, too, because again, the Fae and that kind of stuff, I'm learning a lot about that. It's not my strong suit. So I was going to learn some tonight. So I really can't, you guys want to throw in something great, please do. But here's what I understand. And this I don't have any doubt about. They're starting to reach out because they're concerned about us, and they're concerned about their world, the nature and things like that. I want to make sure that that's taken care of. Everything is. I have got spirit guides that are animals coming back and telling me this stuff. I know that sounds wild, but they're finding all different ways to get to me through different people and different things. And they're all concerned about that. So if you're willing, like I said at the end, we're going to do this. We're going to send them good energy and let them know we're paying attention. We're certainly going to do our part, or any little part. Hey, listen, money's tight. If all you got is the crust off your sandwich that you're going to throw in the garbage, and don't do it. Tear it up in little pieces, find a bush, throw it under the bush so something can get it, and get that nourishment from it, and turn a negative to a positive. Okay? A piece of apple, it doesn't matter. Start making it a little routine. I didn't have any money sometimes so tight, but I always had a little something I could put under, bush and feed some animals and birds, and any place I worked, if I went and ate in a car outside, it wouldn't take very long for little groups of things to show up around the same time and be looking for you and stuff like that. And that's something you can actually see where you're making a difference. if that makes any sense. And it's always going to come back to you and refill you and keep your light on, because you're helping them keep theirs on. They're also in some levels ready to connect in, so they're reaching out, and some of these things, I know this sounds really strange, and again, this is not my, I got to get other people in here that can talk about this, but on the outskirts, I can tell you that they're reaching out because it's their time to reach out and connect with us to help us in the next level, because all these light beings are kind of coming together. Does this make sense? Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Feed the chipmunks, feed the birds. I have people, they seem to be such miserable, bitter, kind of very self-absorbed kind of, people that, those squirrels, sky rats, and, chipmunks, and they just come in there and they bother my stuff and they make everything, people that act that way to nature all the time, they seem to be very bitter, sour individuals. So there's something to this, guys. And as a Native American, a little bit that I know and a little bit that I was able to be raised with, everything connects in. We are all one. We are all a part of this whole avatar thing. Is so true. So true. So there's that. Let's play this video. See what you think. It looks some pretty colors and some nice music. I found you some nice music. So let's put up some of the wisdoms you guys are throwing out here. Let's put this. I mean, do you know some of these YouTube channels that just have trail cams and bird feeder things, they've got millions of views. You just put one of those up there, and because some people don't have that outside their window. My animal bird population is tripled. Oh, isn't that wonderful? I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Yep. Every day. Yep. See, it's a certain, there's a certain group of people. Yep. Unsalted nuts. Yep. Bacon, bacon grease. My grandmother swore by bacon grease, and at that time she didn't think it was love, but boy, she said it would help you get through the winter. And it's important for the birds too. So if you got fat, you want to throw it out there. They know what they're going to eat. I put leftover cat food out there too, because if my bougie boys, they're so bougie, they're gravy lickers. They're gravy lickers. They're so bougie that they just, but they're opposite. They're kind of like James Bond ordering a weak martini and being snooty about it. You know what I mean? And if you know, shaken and not stirred, that's a weak martini, and you're being arrogant about it. It's just, there's something wrong there. Anyway, they do it, and you go and buy this expensive food and all this gravy and the chunks of this and whatever, and they've got bowls of this dry food, and they want to eat the cheap stuff. So you're snubbing the expensive stuff, but you're eating the cheap. I don't know what's wrong with them. They're bougie boys. What did you do? Bacon grease, mixed seeds, put it in. Yeah, there you go. Put it in a tree. You can put it on pine cones. You can mix peanut butter in with it. You can use peanut butter and seed. You have all kind of fun. And it's really good too. I talk a lot about it at Christmas, but we put the trees out there and decorate a tree for the animals. It's a great thing to do with kids or grandkids. You could do it weeks before you start doing it fall. Save some of your pumpkins, carve them out, make, bird feeders out of those. You can do gourds, and you can really get with the kids and show them how to grow this stuff. And Lynn told me something today. I don't think she would mind. I shared it with her, but she was getting, well, no, I can't, because it was part of something else that she said she wasn't sure if she could share. So I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. When she comes on, she can tell you, but it had to do with seeds, and it was really cool. And it was information that we're getting from these wonderful things that are trying to help us out. I guess, I don't know. It's wild. It's an amazing time, guys. I'm telling you. I don't know if you guys have stuff weird going on or what, but it's amazing. By a post from Scott, I got chipmunk to eat a peanut out of my mouth as a kid. Oh, did you, Echo? How cool. I did that last week, and the squirrel bit me in the finger because he thought my finger was a peanut. But I just cut it like a snake bite and sucked the poison out and spit it, went to work. Because that's what we do here. True story. My son was laughing at me the whole time too. What are you doing? It's fine. Take some cat's claw, rub some garlic on it. My critters ate most of my blueberries. Yep. Raspberries this year. Yep. Got to net them. Boy, now you got a double net. But I hate using the nets because I don't want any birds getting caught in it. So I'm trying to think of like, what did Granny do? There had to be something with the foil pie pans and the you know what I'm talking about? The bangers we used to call them. I have tons of animals since the new building took their homes away. Yeah. And that's just it. They're getting displaced too. And, I just wonder what in the world, where are they going to go? 10 spaghetti squash grown from seeds I saved from last year. That's wonderful. Plant sunflowers. They're beautiful. The birds can eat them. They make a great screen. They grow fast, between you and your neighbors. What's it cost to, a couple of packs of sunflower seeds to throw out there, and then everybody gets to eat, and then you can, roast up a couple of trays of them, put them up and, for prepping. You get all kinds of good stuff out of sunflower seeds. And some sunflowers, I'm no expert, but some sunflowers give off larger seeds. Some give off better bird seed, like more quantity. So you can, if you're interested in that stuff at all, you can look at all the different types of sunflowers and the different colors they come in, the oranges and reds and yellows and pinks. And I mean, they're gorgeous. We have them in the shop all the time, but different ones put off different types of seeds. Some of them are huge and they grow so fast. And there's a lot of uses for them. I think there's probably multiple uses for the stalks as well, because they're so, veiny, you know what I mean? So it's almost like I can imagine that back in the day they probably made all kinds of stuff out of them, like maybe rope and all kinds. Hey Bobby, welcome in. Let's see. I had thought about peanut butter receipts for the birds and other critters. Didn't mean to distract you, Cisco, talking about bacon. Thank you for what you talk about, because much I relate to. Oh, wonderful. Good. No. You didn't distract at all. You never distract me with birds or bacon. Both those things are welcome all times. So as we get more into Christmas and stuff like that, I'm going to talk more about what we make in different things. And we can talk about different things we put on the tree and how you can do it like you're watching a movie. So you're stringing popcorn and cranberries or whatever. I did back in the day. To decorate stuff. We've been talking the last couple of Christmases and different holidays, bringing a lot of that stuff back. And I know this crowd does. Shoot, electric goes out, you shadow puppet theater, get out the popcorn and make popcorn in the fireplace or on the, whatever, find some snacks and get the kids together and make up a story. And they just don't do stuff like that anymore. A lot of people, and they're really, really missing out. Hey, what's up, Board Texas? Come on in here. What are you saying? Hey, Cisco, love you. I have the hummingbirds land on my hand to feed them. And I love that, baby. I love that too. Yes. The only thing I do is I have to be careful with my chippies, because now they're getting so bold that when I open the front door to come out, I got the screen door, front door, screen door, and then I go out and then there's bird feeder and flowers and all that stuff. And they come right up to the door now. So I'm afraid that if I'm not quick enough, my boys, chipmunks, because they get so mad. Do you ever have a cat run on a window trying to get to something? And they're just running. They're just running. And here's this mouse in the bird feeder that like sucks onto the window. It's 2:00 in the morning. And this mouse is he's out. He's hitting the streets at night. He climbs up the tree, comes up the screen, goes into the bird feeder and just sits there and eats and looks at the cat while he's eating. Like, I know you can't get me. And the cat's just so aggravated by it. And he's just running on the glass, running on the glass. This goes on. It's about 15 minutes. Mouse jumps down. He goes back to bed, waits about 20 minutes. He does it again. This mouse is totally ruling over this cat. Anyway, nature's cool, man. Yep. Is it really? So it's July 1st here. That's, God bless you, Ted. God bless you. Connor, I bet you he's snoring away. Yes, they do. And they draw in good energy too. Yep, it's absolutely true. And I think that's why a lot of these light beings that are really elementals from nature, some of them are really reaching out, because almost like they want us to join their team, or they want to join our team, or they want us to know that we're out there and they're pulling for the same things and they're rooting for the same things, and that kind of stuff. So I just think it's amazing, and I'm hearing it from all over. So here's a little video about it. Hope you like it. Now, of course, here's pictures of orbs, but I picked ones that had some substance. I can't tell you if it's a bug. I wasn't there when the picture was taken, so I can't tell you how it feels. It's just there for you to see. Have you seen anything like this that you know wasn't a bug? Are they showing up more? Are they showing up more? I'm getting a lot of reports, guys. People just out there taking a picture of the moon, or look at this. Now you'll see the picture of the people standing that this picture was taken from, and it's picture after picture. There must have been 20 pictures like this. It wasn't raining, it wasn't snowing, and there wasn't stuff on the lens. Look at some of these orbs that they seem to have an energy to them. This is the kind that you look for. Look at this orb. I love you to put it on everybody's windshield in your neighborhood, in your cul-de-sac or something, just for you go to work, just, shits and giggles, whatever, make somebody smile. Somebody would come out of that thing screaming and yelling at the mafia, just gave them the black hand, or, somebody was threatening them and they were being stalked, or, the cops would be involved to be a TikTok and be on the YouTubes before noon. It's like you can't do anything anymore. So here's the thing. Do you stop doing the thing? I say do the thing. Let them go crazy. Let them get in the fetal position in the corner. I mean, you do it with your right intent. And if your little act of kindness, your random act of kindness makes somebody, crying and losing their mind on their social media or something, so be it. Sort them out, you know, sort it. Don't stop doing the thing. Do you remember when it used to be back when I went to school, way back in the day? You could go home and say, I have to go to school on my birthday. So what would mom do? About 8 o'clock, it's like, oh, geez, I got to, you got to bring something to school tomorrow. My mom used to hate me because I'd forget right to the last minute. And boy, I'll tell you what, it was rare that she didn't pull through. The cookies, the cupcakes, the homework, whatever. I had one of those wonderful moms. She'd bitch at me the whole time. And boy, she came up with some great cuss words. But there was nothing but love. It was nothing but love there. So anyway, you could bake a couple dozen cupcakes, whip that right up with no kidding, like one bowl and a wooden spoon. Well, maybe a hand mixer. Maybe you had the little hand jobber. You pop the little whirly birds in there. And honey, you were going to school with cupcakes on a bus. On a bus, you didn't have any fancy Tupperware carriers. You had some old cardboard box. You may not even had a cardboard box your mom could cut up. She might have had to build a cardboard box, and moms back then could build one out of duct tape and some old dress box she had. And you took those cupcakes to school, and not one kid was allergic to a peanut. There wasn't one kid that didn't, you might have had chocolate and vanilla. Those were your two choices. There wasn't any questions about what is chocolate. There wasn't any questions about what is vanilla. Everybody knew it, and they chose one, and they were happy to have it. And you were proud you had a mom or a grandmom or a dad or whoever that could whip that sucker up, and you're proud of you because you made it on the bus all day. Excuse me, all the way to school, and you got them to the classroom you're supposed to, and you were proud. It was your birthday. You handed those things out, and you were glad to have it, and you were thrilled. That was a big day. Try doing that today. Here's one. This one doesn't have any gluten in it. This one doesn't have any peanuts. So did your mom stop it? They have ruined everything. And I don't know when it started, but we need to go back to that point and figure out what the fuck went wrong. And we need to go back in time, and we need to hit that break and bring sanity back again. That's all I'm saying. If you want to be crazy, there's your square foot of real estate. Hand all the crazy you want right there. Enjoy it. I will defend to the death your right to say what you want to say and act how you want to act, as long as you're not hurting anybody else. I sign that oath. There's no expiration for that. You understand? But I just offered you a cupcake, and if you don't want it, you say, no, thank you, and you move the hell on. I don't want to hear your stories. I don't need your stuff. I don't need to know the history of it. Stop it. Thank you. No, thank you. Move on. Because I'm bringing cupcakes to the party. Keep bringing cupcakes to the party, people. See what I'm saying? Don't let them ruin that. Don't let them ruin it. Okay. There's my speech. I hope you read between the lines on that. And now that I said that, where do you think that comes from? Can anybody in this smart chat, and I'm going to wait because I know there's a little delay, and I'm looking at all these wonderful chats that are coming through, a cupcake and an EpiPen. Look, I'm not making fun. Look, if you got a legitimate situation, please don't misunderstand me. I apologize. I apologize all over the place. Here's the thing. Everybody's got something. I don't show up somewhere and order a coffee at the Dunkin' Donuts and then tell the person behind the counter everything that's wrong with me. We never get anything done. I don't understand when this started. I'm sorry your feelings are hurt. Get the fuck out of the way. I got to order a pizza. I got to go to work. I got shit to do. You see what I mean? I work in a place where people get phone calls all day because they're calling in to order flowers. And the phone calls that I have heard as a customer service manager for PetSmart, look, I've lived a long time. I've worked a lot of jobs. Some of them, many at the same time. And Ed to back me on this, there's many people in the chat, same story. I'm blue collar, I'm hardworking. I've done hospitality, service, construction, military, truck driving. I've seen some shit. Okay. I've seen a lot of people in America, in a lot of different states. And I've taken a lot of phone calls from people wanting their money back or wanting to return something or having a problem with the service in the store or whatever it may be, or, you know, at the motor pool. I've seen a lot of things. And one thing I've seen change over the decade is the way people act, total strangers, on the phone. This thing in the social media has made a lot of people very brave behind their keyboard warriors, right? But I've seen a big difference in how people speak and how they react, and that anxiety that they're coming from, and how it's like they spin so fast. The problem could be literally, this is a fact, I'd have the problem solved, have their change and their money refunded to them and whatever, and they're still going. And I'm just standing there, just, all you got to do is sign and go. You don't need to finish the street, just, you know, and then they have to unwind. You know, they got all wound up and somebody listened to them, and everybody's got this big, lady, I just talked to somebody that had this, and this is what you want to say on the inside. You know, this has happened, just buried their whatever, and they're, you know, lost their, and handled it like a champ. And you just did 20 minutes on your best, you know, yarn saga I've ever heard. And somehow you worked gout into that conversation. I don't, in the world that I live in, get a grip. Do you see what I'm saying? I think the world needs to get a grip. Let's get a grip. Feed nature. Get a damn grip. Eat the good cookie. Take care of yourself. Don't hang with negative people that absolutely drain you. I can tell you, my world's got very small, and I like it that way. I'll reach out around the world to do this because there's good people out there that reach back. But there's people right next to me. It's like, I got, you know, take that over there. Take it over there. Go have that over there. Do that opera, that, please, over there. So I'm not buying any of it. You're going to have to get real down and dirty to make me feel sorry for you. And I'm sure as heck not reaching out to drag you to where you need to go, because you have to do all that. That's all on you. Go be that person on your square foot of real estate. Don't bring your crazy over here. I'm all full up. You got to peddle that shit someplace else. I ain't buying. Okay? I'm here trying to lead with as many good people as I possibly can, feed as many birds as I possibly can, make as many people smile, you know, help a ghost, get them over there, you know, write it all down, tell them what, these are your choices. You have that straight free will. You want to cross over? We can do that right now. If you want to wait, you know, on to the next. Free will for the dead and the living. That's how I feel. That's how I approach things. I have my moment. I'll tell you right now, there are times where I tell people, I am not fit for company. You don't enter at your own risk, because I literally go to work. So I'm going over there. I'm going to work and I'm going home. Don't bring that over here, because, you know, the only thing stopping me from is my general mood and my military bearing, you know, because the world has gotten crazy. And I'm going to stay on that keel, and I'm going to stay on my track, and I'm going to stay in my lane as best I can. And if you're going to over here, whoop, look out. You know, you might want to stay in your lane. Don't come over here and tell me the sky is pink, because, baby, I know what color the sky is. You know, been around a long time. I've paid attention. They'll try to sell me on that crazy stuff. Yep, absolutely. I'll tell you something, Edna. I think the only thing in life that has shocked me recently is the is how proud people can be of their ignorance. And they figure if they just keep repeating it and saying it louder, that makes them right, and it doesn't. It makes you loud and obnoxious and still wrong. So, and again, facts don't care about your feelings is one of my favorite. But let's get back to the read between the lines. Now that I rambled for the amount of time it should have took to get some replies in here, I'm going to go back and see if we've got it. Whoopie pies, moon pies, yes. Oh gosh, they're probably not as good now as I remember that they were. So I'll just keep the memory on that and my back teeth too. Because man, those things are sweet. You know what was really like way too much just to and again, I'm sorry Lynn's not here, guys, and I apologize. It was last minute, and I don't have a lot, but I have something. So, and I will get there, I promise. But moon pies. What are those ones? The Suzy Q's, where you'll look at them and you're a kid and you got your 50 cents and you're trying to get as much for that 50 cents as possible. So you'll go ahead and get a Suzy Q because it's the biggest, cake in there. I don't know what you had in the South. There was cat hair again, guys. I'm just like going crazy. In the South, we had Little Debbie's, and I think here up north we had, your Drake's cakes and your Yodels, and your Hostess was big. So we remember different things. I even remember the time, I think it was Hostess that went with the peanuts, and all of like the Twinkies and stuff had different peanuts characters on them. So they had your Lucy on those strawberry shortcakes or whatever. Do you remember that? And Snoopy and all? You just work that gout into the conversation. It's true, Jack. They'd sit there, and before you know, it's like, I make these blankets for the vets. Yes, ma'am, I'm a vet, and we appreciate it so much. And, I want you to get your yarn. And, of course, you have to have red dye #2 in your yarn because that's this and this and that and the other. And it's not matching your pattern. And I can understand your situation, but your money's on the counter, and I need you to move on. It's like, God bless you. Thank you for your service, but get the hell out in front of my counter because I got things to do. I mean, it's just, I just don't have toleration for it anymore. I don't know how you feel, exactly. Now, I didn't have one where I went all the way down to, but I was out of my body watching my body spin, and I wound up on the ocean way past where the waves could have done it. So I can't tell you. I still have the scar on the bottom of my chin right there from being in that undertow and seeing my body doing this, bent backwards. In my yellow bathing suit, I still remember the crabs and the seaweed floating around underneath me, and me sitting on the outside of my body. Go, man, that's me. I was like 11 years old. Cool bar sign. Don't talk about yourself. We'll do that after you leave. Yeah. So did anybody answer my question? Did I miss it? I'm looking through, but maybe put it in all caps if you want me to see it. Let's try that. See other hosts asking that, and I can totally understand. And then I see chat. There's certain chats. You ever been in a chat where they get mad if you use capital? It's like, don't yell at us. We're not going to allow those capitals to be used. I mean, these are what is this, like an HOA of a freaking chat thing? You know what I mean? That's not going to happen here. If you want to put your stuff in caps so I can see it, I'm not going to be offended by it. I'm not easily offended. Trust me. What was the question, Vixen, was read between the lines. Where do you think that started? What is the origin of that? What would be your guess at the origin, not just the meaning of read between the lines? Because that's kind of inferred like there's more message. Ooh, there's a clue. Where do you think that started? And that's going to bring me into the next little bit that I got here for you, because I'm excited about this. Ha! So that was your question. You can use caps if you want. Don't hurt yourself. Yeah. Stuff I've been through has made me not write too, but it's also made me not care about it. It's like, I am who I am. This is me. That's why I've decided just to be me on here. I could sit here and I could do this, and I could get producers, and I could, buy me a coffee, and I could do all the different things. And, yeah, I'll tell you about the t-shirts, and, Sage, get to the machine, get a mug, do super chats, do comments, subscribe, please do. But here's the thing. I'm shadow banned and I'm throttled, and I'm fine with that. Thank you, baby cat. So I'm not going to come up here and try my best to tell you the truth about what I understand at this moment in time about ghosts and things like that, and look back at old stories and talk about it, see what we can learn from it, and, different things like that, trying to bring truth and start it with a lie. It doesn't make any sense to me, Forgetting something. I keep trying to tell Lee this shit. What shit? I'm getting throttled, and I'm fine with it. If that's all they want to do to me, and they're just allow me to come on here and ramble on with my bullshit and reach out to people and maybe help one person 6 months from now who watches an old video and something in that resonates with them or help them understand something, my job is done. Because I spent years playing it the way other people wanted me to play it, being involved in different broadcasting networks where, they're, well, you're not using the right size font. Well, that's the most important thing when you're talking about the paranormal. Y'all focused on the wrong stuff. I don't get involved. I cahoot with no one. And I don't get involved with these HOAs and all this other stuff that are going to be all Nazis, and you got beat up in college, school, or you didn't make the team, or whatever the hell your issue is. Look, we're talking about ghosts. Ghosts don't care. You know what matters? That we help the troubled soul, or maybe we help the troubled living soul understand a little something about what they're going through in their grief or their loss or their questions, or they're trying to understand what the hell is in their closet. We don't have time for font, At least you're telling me what kind of font I got to use, because I'm touchy about my font. I think font's important. It can make or break a statement. And it can create a feel in a certain way. And it absolutely. I mean, covers of books, look at that. That whole thing with color. And does anybody know what the horror colors are for a book? So if you're going, what is the number one, two colors used? I think recently, since the 90s, another one you could add to that, since, I don't know how often they do this study. I don't think there's somebody in a committee to, every day having meetings about colors of books, but, you can better believe there's meetings that have gone on about it. Ted, thank you so much, Organic Cigarette. Aren't you the sweetest thing? Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it very much. That will definitely go towards the can. It will go towards the can. The way my mind works, I was thinking going towards the can, and that made me think he wants us to sing in his can, which made me think of Oh Brother. In that short amount of time, this is how warped I am. Made me think of Oh Brother, We're Out There, when they were singing Man of Constant Sorrows in that amount of time. And I'm not certifiably crazy yet. At least I haven't been caught. They hadn't put a pin on me yet. But that's my life. Welcome to it. Thank you, Kat. Yes, go and get you one of those Sage Against the Machine with little crispy on there. I'm going to do a special onesie for somebody special coming up. That's going to be there. It's going to be kind of a surprise little ditty. But here's another surprise. I'm going to go ahead and give you the answer to that question. But thank you, Ted, so much. It means a lot to me, really. And again, anything you give here, any super chat, if it's, if you go over to the PayPal, if you send $1, I usually get the $1. They get their thing. But it's all on the, it's worked for me for years, and I appreciate it. And every bit of it goes towards StreamYard and the internet, and gives me a reason to say, hey, I can take that day and, or week or 2 weeks and do research and, put stories out there. But I got to be honest too. I love doing it. I love doing the research. I love finding a subject. Sometimes it takes me hours, and I'll go through, I might look up world's top 100 unsolved mysteries, and I'll go through a list, and I might go through 75 of them, and then one will hit me, and I go, man, that's interesting. Let me look into that. Is this something I want to share with the chat? Is this something I want to do an episode on? Is it going to be something that's one episode and done? Or is it something that's going to be, 2 or 3 to really play it all out and be through? I never have to go back and revisit it unless something new pops up. Like I would go back and revisit Lizzie Borden if somebody, opens up a time capsule or something and finds a hatchet in there with a note attached to it that said, such and such, whatever, and there's DNA. Here's some DNA in a vial, and you can test everything, whatever it may be. Then we do another show to announce that, But if I look back on Lincoln, I pretty much covered it. I could, bring in more of the battles and more of the Civil War, which might happen in the future. But pretty much the story of him, 6 episodes from his mom and his dad, and actually his grandfather, all the way through to his ghost, pretty much got it and tried to bring the truth and the facts and dig up stuff that other people weren't digging up. And I'm going to do it again. But here's been the saga. I have been looking for somebody to do a series with, and what I wanted to do is something similar to, if you ever heard of a book club. So I always keep in mind that nobody has any money to spend, and I never want to do anything where it's going to cost somebody or somebody can't get it that wants to get it or that kind of thing. So it had to be something different. So I've been looking around to have a subject like this, something that we could kind of sort of share, that not everybody really knows everything about because it's too big. And I want to do something where we come back together and almost talk about it live. So go off and watch something or read something and then come back and talk about it and have us do that for a couple of weeks. And I've seen other channels do it, and I think it's kind of cool. And most of them do it with books. But here's the thing. I always have to do a couple more layers to it. So I wanted to have a guest that maybe knew a little bit about it, like I said, and then wait a minute, here we go. And if somebody else said, I just caught this one, so if somebody else said it first, please forgive me. If I can go back and find it, I will. But this is it right here. Thank you, Jack. The expression derives from a simple form of cryptography in which a hidden meaning was conveyed by secreting it between the lines of a text. Yes, and it was often done with invisible ink. Those being, the most popular being in use at the time that we're going to talk about was lemon juice and, believe it or not, milk. And that was your agent. And then later on, they would have things like a reagent. In this case, with the lemon and the milk, it was heat. So they would write between the lines a secret message of an actual letter or an actual sales slip or a note to give, say, a general store manager, I need these items. And in between that, they would say, read between the lines. And in between that, they'd know that there was a message. And during a very special time in my country's history, it was called by somebody who I think you may think you know, but I assure you, this is one cheeky monkey. And he's one of my favorite characters for many, many reasons. And I get very excited about it, so you can probably guess who it is. But anyway, it was by one of my favorite characters, called it the sympathetic stain. And boy, I'll tell you what, I've never heard such a phrase piss off so many historians and scholars in my life. And I've been studying this stuff for decades, and in different ways and in different levels and in coming in and out of different doors and windows and, sometimes jumping off the roof. But anyway, that really pisses off a lot of it. It sounds ugly. It doesn't sound poetic, but I think it does. And I think hearing the words read between the lines and also hearing it being described by this person as a sympathetic stain gives kind of a little bit of both sides of some of the things that were going on at the time and the way people were feeling, because this is a time in my country's time where we actually accidentally became a country. And if you go back far enough, because most people, a date that's coming up fast for us, I mean, it's the 1st of July. And at this moment in time, the Second Continental Congress was sitting in 1776 in a very hot room where they kept saying, open a window, you know, so hot. And they're still dressed in all their finery because Lord knows they didn't want to, drop a wig or not look their best. And, it's like, 100 degrees in Philadelphia. And if you've ever been to Independence Hall, if you have a chance, I suggest you go. Philadelphia doesn't look that hot right now, but if you can fight through the meth zombies and Kensington Street and everything else to get there, it's worth the fight, because believe me, to make it as famous as it is and his historic value took quite a bit of fight. And that sympathetic stain and reading between the lines is a lot what I want to do this summer. I want to look into that sympathetic stain and why it was sympathetic, and why did it, what was it staining? What was the stain, and why did that stain spread? And what was written between the lines, and why were they writing between the lines, and who was reading it, and how did that come to be? It's a very interesting story. So, going back to the beginning, what I wanted to do, I wanted to get a guest that knew a little, but maybe hadn't dove so deep in some of these dark and interesting corners and in these shadows of a time when a very small group of dedicated and devoted people had a belief up against what seemed to be an enormous giant and an immeasurable fight and force. And they did it anyway. They did it anyway. The intestinal fortitude, when you have someone who is fighting for his own land, their own freedom, their own liberty, their own life, the life of a brother, a mother, a father, a child, the right to be, has passed through history and time over and over, and story upon heroic, upon devious devastation and bloodshed. But it is the most amazing story to be told. There's quite a bit of supernatural involved in it. There's a little paranormal involved in it. But what is seeping through the entire thing is a people believing in something greater than themselves, a purpose bigger than they were. And it all happened kind of by accident, and not in a lot of the ways that we've been told, because Cisco been doing digging for a long time on this one. So have the guest on. So do we get a book? Whose book? What historian's book? It's hard pick. I've got a lot of books on history. I got books on Lincoln this thick. Just his papers, just his letters, just his journals. The laws he wrote, the proclamations, documents. But you learn a lot written in the hand of the person that's saying it. The journals, the letters. Of course, I'm talking about the American Revolution. Of course, I'm talking about 13 colonies. Yet again, kind of almost feeding off our Lewis and Clark. The beginning of, discovering a land where kind of nobody was using it. But hey, hey, what about us? I know the devastation. I know the cost. I know the cost still. But there was a time where ordinary people stood up and made a difference. There was a time where people gave everything they had and risked everything to do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and to get through their lives. This was a people who lived in a town with other people, and they weren't sure how that person really felt. They might have been afraid to say how they really felt, because at this time, they weren't sure if that was going to get them killed or turned in, or somebody was going to call an 800 number, you know. And maybe neighbors were a little more careful about what they put on their front porch that might say something or not say something. And then there became a time very quickly where that didn't seem to matter as much anymore, because something else was at stake. And it was the way it all built up, and it circled and it spiraled. It's an amazing story. So what historian's book do you pick? What scholar? It's hard. And I can tell you, by doing deep dives into just Gettysburg and battles in the Civil War, or Fredericksburg, or Shiloh, Antietam, the Wilderness, and digging into stories like Vietnam or JFK, there's stacks and stacks of books. And they all can lean the way that person wants you to lean, or it might be regurgitating something else they got, just like paranormal stories, just like ghost stories, just like true crime. But here's something that I've kind of noticed over the past decade. It's almost like people that have their finger on the buttons and the dials are trying to go back and change history and obscure it in a way. And I wonder why they would do that. Why do you think something as silly and as simple as a cigarette? If I want to sit here and smoke a cigarette or a cigar, or I want to drink, which I don't even anymore, really. Gosh, I can't remember last time I had a beer. But, whatever you're doing, the wine, or, am I hurting you? No. So what? I mean, if your kids are that weak that by seeing me light a cigarette, they're going to go and buy a pack, honey, that's not my fault. You need to turn around and tell your parents you need them to get engaged. I'm not responsible for raising your kids. I had one time, but I'll tell you what, you bring them over here, they can bake cookies with me, or they can do shadow puppets, or we can do paper dolls, or whatever, play in the garden, feed the birds. But if they're here, I'm going to respect your children. You don't need to tell me how to act. I know how to act. I didn't cuss in front of my mama. Well, I did that once, but after I got up off the floor, because I was raised by people who cared and told me how to act, and told me, how you conduct yourself in a court of law, or in a church, or hold the door open for an elder person, or get the hell your fat ass up off the bus and let that woman sit down, because screw feminism and all that shit. This woman's pregnant. She needs to sit the hell down. Put your legs together and stop using up so much thing. For God's sake, pull your pants up. Have self-respect. Self-respect. That's something that these people had. And you know what? They weren't about to lose it. So I reached out and I got a couple of people and I talked to them. And one person that is very smart, and I'm very surprised by this, was just, I can't tackle that subject. That's just, and I said, look, this is what I want to do. I've got 3 things picked out, and it's free. As far as I know, at least to a certain extent, and I can't swear across other countries, because I have found out that in some places, certain things on the inner tubes aren't available in certain countries. And I hate that, because I want you to see it. I want you to see it if you want to see it. So we're going to have to get together and help each other on this if you want to be a part of it. But here's the thing, and I'll explain it again. I know I'm all over the place, but bear with me, because I'm just excited, and Lynn was supposed to be here, and I'm trying to make up for the gap of what we were going to talk about. So I'm trying to figure out how to present it to you. So what author? And that's the hard part. So I found, and I'm shocked I found this. It was done in 1997. It was a PBS. I am shocked at how good this is. I remember seeing parts of it when it came out. I think my youngest was 6 at the time. I was a very busy mom. But I do remember this came out because I've always been interested, but I think I caught part of it. I don't know if you're familiar or not, but it's a PBS special. It's called Liberty. And it's 6 parts. And I thought what we could do, if you're interested, and I have a couple of links and mods, you can share them out if you want, but I want you mods, I want you to take this link and put it in your, make it a copy and put it in your clipboard or something, because we're going to use it again, because here's what we're going to do. And for my people across the pond, I promise what we're going to do. I love this because it also gives the perspective of what was going on across the pond as well, how they were looking at it. And you know what? It's honest, because you have to imagine, the king's sitting over there in the parliament and everybody, and they're going, what are these upstarts? We just got over there, spent all this money, doing the French and Indian War. We're over there, we're defending the colonies, and they're getting all, their pants in the water about a 3% tax, the Stamp Act, and they're seeing it like, you're just children acting up. You're just spoiled children. And this is how the parliament's looking at it and go, what are they doing? Why are they so upset? Why are they mad? Just pay it. Of course, we're not asking you to pay for the whole thing, but, we've been over there and it's, cost quite a pretty penny. And, you can see the balance. You can kind of sort of understand. But then you go back across the water there, the pond, as they say, it's a 6-week trip. Every time a letter is going back and forth, there's a 6-week gap. Can you imagine 6 weeks on it? But just, God, are we there yet? But anyway, in the sickness and anyhow, the things these people did, and you're curling up in the fetal position over a cupcake. Are you serious? We got to, something's going to happen to weed this out, because, tough men and hard times and soft men, and the thing. So anyway, these people were absolutely amazing. And when that came across, there's Parliament and the king and everybody over there thinking one thing. It's like spoiled children. And then it's almost like you can picture the ship go back across, and it comes there, and what it's greeting them is a roar of a people just wanting to be free. They just want to feed their families. They were doing fine. They were, yeah, I get it. The Native Americans, all that stuff. There wasn't a lot good going on there at that point in time. There'd been a lot of fighting to get to this point in this time of peace for the colonists. The natives were trying to figure out how to stop the spread. You know what I mean? And just everybody was trying to cope, but they were copacetic at that point. We'd just gotten over the War of 1812, the French and Indian War on this side. It's kind of like Bull Run and Manassas, 2 names, And the British aren't wrong about we spent a lot of money and ammunition, and men and good men died on both sides and all that. And, you should give us a little money. But there was something that went on across the pond. They were getting a little antsy about people telling them what they could and couldn't do, what they had. I think if it'd gone back, it's almost like the text message has gone wrong because it's worded wrong, and these letters going back and forth, and these messengers and stuff going back and forth, and hurt feelings, and, all of this. Listen, at the time, these colonists, everything was England. They loved England. They drank their tea on Wedgwood china. They wore fine English fabrics. They dressed the fashion of that was England. They loved it. Until England started telling the colonists what they couldn't do. And it really started in a little upstart place called Boston, Massachusetts, in a little tavern called the Green Dragon, that was run by a man who was trying to be a brewer like his dad, but made terrible beer, because he wasn't very good at that. But he was really good at rhetoric and politics. And he was very good at getting others to pay attention and to talk about it, and trying to sort out what to do next, and where was the line, and how far were they willing to go, and how hard were they willing to work towards becoming an independent as far as supplying all their own goods and their own things. Because if England cuts them off, No more of that fine fabric, no more of that fine tea, no more of that, that finery. They would be forced to sort inside themselves and look and see what they could really do when things came down to it. Could you be a blacksmith? Could you be a silversmith and make your own tea services? Could the women who were buying skeins of wool and yarn and bolts of silks and things coming out of England, could they make some fine New England wool and learn how to crochet? Sounds tough, doesn't it? It's a lot to it. It's easy to say. It's a lot harder to feed the sheep, shear the sheep, harvest the wheat, make the bread, grind the wheat. Listen, they're doing all that, but now they're not getting, they might not get supplies anymore if they get their ports cut off, right? So people are talking about this, and they're starting to see we're not really comfortable with some of these laws being put on us and being told what we can and can't do. And, so little things start up. And the king sends over some men, and now they have soldiers amongst them in a place called Boston, Massachusetts. And now women feel a little less safe. People feel a little bit more put upon. They feel like they're being treated like kids in school. Bad things were happening on both sides. People always take it a little further here and a little further there. And how all that started was that little group that met at the Green Dragon called the Sons of Liberty. So there is also a series with 6 episodes, an hour apiece, called the Sons of Liberty. I don't know if you ever saw it. It's fantastic. Just like the Titanic, it's historically accurate up to the point where there were gaps, and they had to fill in the gaps with what they thought that character may or may not do. Like, they didn't know quite how they got from this point to this point, but they know they got there, so they had to fill that in. That one is as very close to being historical, very timeline and everything accurate, but what it does is something very special, and I think is different. It takes the Sons of Liberty, who are, if you don't know who I'm talking about here, is Sam Adams. He's the one that couldn't make good beer, but he could talk. He could talk some good rhetoric and politics and business and just wonderful. He held with the best of them, and he hung with lawyers. You have to understand this group was a mix. Then there was his cousin John Adams, who was a little more about himself and felt a little bit, more sure of who he was and the way he dressed and carried himself, and very outspoken. And he would be called obnoxious and disliked, but nobody ever called him stupid. He was very smart. They all had their own personalities and their own things and their own strengths, their own weaknesses. They were people just like us, right? Ordinary people. This particular group was mostly made up of people. There were, farmers and planters and businessmen and merchants and, lawyers and this type of ilk. The next one, who was the richest man in town, was a man called John Hancock. You might not know much about John Hancock. Everybody remembers the big signature on the Declaration of Independence, so the king could see it without his spectacles. He really said that. That one's written down. Some other things are made up along the way that people never said, but I can assure you the man who called it a sympathetic stain has probably the most written down of the things he said, and that's Ben Franklin, who came in a little bit later in this. So here are these men meeting at the Green Dragon, and you're going to hear people coming in and bellying up to the bar for a bad beer and good conversation. Paul Revere, who's another one of my favorite characters. I'm a big Sam fan and a huge Paul Revere fan. There's a lot more to Paul Revere than a lot of people know. He's a wonderful silversmith and a lot of other things. He was really quite the badass. And a really good leader. And when, he was called to, you know, mix of this ragtag group of farmers and, everything put together and try to get them to fight. Nobody was better at it than Paul. He really came through. So little things like that. I want you to know these things, because here's the thing. I think if you get a chance and you want to, you can watch this along with us. What we were going to do is I had two people shy away from this who didn't think they could handle it, and I thought that was hysterical. But I love you for it. And it wasn't that it wasn't just the subject; it was the timing, the time it is going to take. So to be fair. So the first one is 6 hours, and I thought I could group them into two. If you want to watch it, Lynn is excited about this, and she's going to do it with me. We're going to try to add a night on the week, or at the very least, do two of these a month. So what we're going to try to do is doing it. It's going to be all summer. And if you want to watch it with us, we invite you to watch it. We'll tell you what episodes we're going to watch ahead of time, and then we have a week. We're going to try to find you places you can watch it for free. And if not, we'll try to set it up to where you can go somewhere and see it, even if we got to screen shoot it or something. Screen record it. We can get it to you. Maybe some of our friends can help that know links and things like that to get in. But right now, I have the first one for you, and I'm going to share that link. But if you want to do that, and we're going to start in the beginning, but what we're really trying to get to is the first one, that is Sons of Liberty. That's 6 episodes. I believe I watched it on Hulu. I think it's on a couple of free things like Freebie and, Plex. So mods, if you see it out there while we're going to bring this up this summer and you find different links, I'm going to ask you to share them with the chat. But most people can go in and Google it and see where you can see it for free in your country. But we're going to watch like 2 of those. And then Lynn and I aren't going to talk about it. We're going to come on here and I'm going to get her reaction, live, your reaction live, in your chat, and your discussion. And I'm going to come in and try to tell as much of the stuff that's historically accurate and isn't. And we're just going to have a nice talk about it and then move on to the next one. And once we get through, that'll be 3 shows for Sons of Liberty. So that's 2 episodes per show, per our show. And then we'll get that done in 3 shows of ours. And then the next one, which is going to be a little tougher because it's got a couple seasons on it. So we might have to add a couple to maybe do 3. And again, if you miss something, that's fine. You're still going to be there for the talk. You're going to be there for the whole thing. You don't have to watch it. There's going to be enough talk about it. I'm going to find gifts and try to get clips and things like that to share with you, and pictures and his story. The possibilities are endless because there's so much information out there. But we're basically going to try to stay in order of how it happened, from the very first getting pissed off about the Stamp Act after the French and Indian War all the way through. Because what we're going to get to is, once you get through the Sons of Liberty, which my favorite part of it is, every time you see anything about these gentlemen, you're always seeing them with the gray hair and they're older, and the signing of the Declaration and almost the aftermath of it, and when they became presidents and things like that, and those things, and of course, rightfully so. They don't get a lot about the beginning. And in Sons of Liberty, these guys are in their 20s and early 30s. These are young men. These are guys coming up, some of them went to school, some of them quit school, some of them got to go to college, some of them didn't, merchants and all these things, just trying to hack it out of the wilderness and live and take care of themselves and their families. You see? So on top of that, you get to see them in that ilk. You get to see them when they're a little younger, when they're just getting pissed off, when they're just trying to decide what's important to me. Is being free and having those liberties, is it worth giving up these things or putting this at risk? Turns out the answer is yeah. And at the same time, folks, chat, me, you're going to see all the parallels that happened then to what's happening now. And I hope within this story, it's interesting enough for you to get excited about it, to look forward to seeing the next episodes if you're participating in that way, or if you're excited just to see us watch the episodes and come back and talk about it. What happened? What did Sam do now? What did that upstart Paul Revere do? What happened at Bunker Hill? You got to be kidding, because I heard it went this way, and I'm like, oh, the truth is more like this. This first show, Liberty, really does a lot of that. Now, again, 1997, PBS, you'd be amazed at how much truth there really is in that, and not so much leaning, and actually a balanced a bit of information of truth from both sides and everything. It's very wonderfully done. And again, I found it for free if you want to watch it. I don't know if the archives are available around the globe, but we'll put them up there and we'll see. If not, it's on, I know it's on Rumble. I know it's on Daily Motion, and it's for sure all over YouTube on many people's playlists. So I'm going to give that to you guys tonight. If you guys want to start watching that, if you're interested in, Lynn and I are going to start this week with probably the first 2 episodes. I'm going to give her time to absorb it, because I don't know what she's going through with her dog right now, but she's going to need time. And so at least 2 weeks. So you've got at least 2 weeks to watch a couple, if you want to get a head start, is what I'm saying. But what I'm really trying to get to is the sympathetic stain. I want to get to turn. I want to get to a little thing called the Culper spy ring. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, and you, at this point, should know the answer to it. You can put it all in caps so blind old Cisco back can see it. Okay? I don't know what you guys are yelling about Scotland, but pay attention. This is important. This is going to be a good summer. This is going to be a good summer thing. So please, 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 spy my eyes. Just listen to this part, y'all. So, who was the master spy leader in America of all time? The very first and the master one at the very beginning. Do you know that answer? Who was it? It was not the Celts or the Anglos. The first, oh, wonderful. The first season of Sons of Liberty is on Tubi, guys. Don't get ahead of me, because if you get ahead of me, you can't, I'm going to hold you to it. You can get ahead of me if you want. You can know the story or whatever your specialty is. If everybody's got like a little part that they're interested in this whole story, because it's quite the saga. I mean, honestly, it's quite the tale. But you're not allowed to do spoilers in the chat when we're talking about it, because I think this is going to build over the summer, and it's going to last all summer, and it's going to give us something cool to do. And you don't have to buy a book. And, if you want to recommend stories or movies or books or things like that, or periodicals, absolutely put them in the chat, because what I want to do is just put all the information we can out there of the truth, and let people find themselves and their will to take on their own projects and their own things that they're willing to not give up and fight for. And that might be your school district or your local mayor seat, or, the bully at the office that you're just tired of hearing. Whatever it is, you don't put up with, you have to learn to stand in your own square foot of real estate. So there it is. The first season of Sons of Liberty is on Tubi. But we're going to start with this show, Liberty. I'm going to show you in a minute. And who's got it here? We've got a couple. The church, very nicely done, Echo. I will accept that as a possibility. It's not the correct answer, but it certainly isn't wrong. Jax looks like he's first one in here with the Catholic Enoch. I like that one too. But this is the one I was shooting for. Yep, George Washington. The Culper spy ring was created by George Washington and one of his most trusted officers and friends, Talmadge. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about all the ways they used to pass information, their ciphers, the things that they did, how they how the sympathetic stain came about, the sacrifices, the chances they took, the way they found out to give information, how they would travel 51 miles, from New York to Secaucus, um, in New England, to give information, and then have to go back again on a horse. You see what I mean? That's 102 miles in all weather. And it is said in a lot of ways. Now, it can't be overstated how important this group was, but there are certain times and certain messages and certain things that were stopped that you'll learn that changed the outcome of this war. Because I'm going to tell you, in the very beginning, it wasn't going too good. With everything that Washington had to put up with. You have to understand the First Continental Congress. I'm going to teach you how it was just an accidental thing that they just kind of wound up having a meeting. We got to talk to everybody. Let's get everybody here, pick a place. It wasn't like we're going to make history and this is going to be the first. It wasn't like that. It was a reluctant kind of revolutionary time. It was a time where people either stood up or bowed down. And these son of a guns stood. And I love it. And it's amazing and it's inspirational and it's, let's weed out all the BS and the, everything else. Let's come up with what really happened and where certain things came from. And I got excited because studying for this too. So we're going to watch Turn 2. And I'll find a way for you to see if we can find that. And if not, I'll just share as much with it that I can get away with. And I hope you watch it because it's a fabulous show. There is an awful lot in there that, this person is really a composite of 3 different people that actually existed. These 2 people really never had an affair. That's the drama in there. So let's move past that. She was too old and they never really got together. And this guy didn't act that way. I'll tell you all that stuff because a lot of it's, again, they're selling whatever. The truth is crazier than the stuff they make up, just like in the paranormal. So we're going to do that. We're going to talk about that. Lynn's going to be here for the ride. Anybody else that has any kind of insight into this, if you've got a perspective from your side of the pond, if you have a perspective because you're a big fan of, say, Abigail and John Adams, there's another wonderful drama put together that I think is called John and Abigail. Very well done by the 2 actors that play that part. Very much based on their letters. Their letters to each other was invaluable, priceless. Kind of chronicle of this whole time because they did so much letter writing back and forth because these young soldiers on both sides kept journals. You can see how they felt going into one battle or going in, very much like the Civil War, that the times were, just separated by a century, but it seems like the people were still so similar in so many different ways, and the way they kept letters and their penmanship being an honorable thing, that kind of showed your education. Even if you were a farmer, you took pride in your signature. It meant something. If you couldn't read or write, different things like that, that are so important. All the quaint stuff. I want to tell you about all the espionage and how close people came to getting caught. And now this one almost got turned in. All that stuff in turn is true. And the way the officers were and different little things there. Both sides are important. Both sides were surprised at what they thought one thing and they wound up being in another. And it's just an amazing thing. But again, the most important thing is not just telling the history and telling it correctly. It's if you guys want a project that doesn't cost anything, that little something to look forward to. Hey, I'm going to watch that episode and oh my gosh, I didn't know this was going to happen. I can't wait to get, for Lynn and Cisco to come back so we can all talk about it in chat. That's what I'm shooting for. If it gives you a little bit of something, a little bit of a distraction in a good way, but I also hope it gives you inspiration to do things that might seem a little, impossible. Because there's nothing I like more than watching the underdog make it And I love it when fate seems to continually keep intervening, like it's almost inevitable that this is going to become this, whether you like it or not. And it's just an amazing time for all of these things being played out. And I think one of the most intriguing thing is something that we are kind of going through now in some ways. And it might have been because of some kind of medical thing they tried to push on us. And maybe you didn't want that. And other people got mad you didn't want it and said, just do it. And that's when you started seeing, who the fuck are you? You know what I mean? It's like, I didn't know this was you. What happened to this? You remember that time I stood with you and you wanted, we were, hold on, just the same thing. Again, there's that split. There's that, and then there's so many other things, these crazy, massive black magic spells they keep putting on people that make people do stupid stuff like, stuff that doesn't work, but we're going to do it anyway. And if you're not doing it, you're not doing it right. And you're going to stand 6 feet apart, even though a sneeze goes almost 30 feet in most adults. 6 foot. What else is 6 foot? Head down, keep your mouth shut. Don't meet at bars. Don't meet at taverns. Don't talk about the problems. Don't have discussions. Don't have meetings at your local churches or your parks or anything else. Go to Home Depot, buy your wood, go buy your liquor and your cigarettes, get your ass back home, stop spread. These people were told to sit down and shut up too. Here's a deal breaker. Here's a spoiler alert. They didn't. And it was a very small percentage, believe it or not, of the population of those colonies. So much so that when the British showed up to New York, they were welcomed in. Parties were thrown. They were thrilled to see them. They loved England. They loved the king. They weren't a part of this upstarts over here. But something happened in the middle where common sense started coming and people started realizing what they could lose. They started getting in line. It's an amazing story. I hope you'll go on it with me. I want to show you, I know we're running late, but I wanted to show you this little bit here. And I hope they'll let me. I'll cut it out tomorrow, but I'm going to show it to you. So I hope you're excited. I hope some of you are going to come along. I will get, am I going to get fact check? Oh, bring on the fact checkers. Bring them on. They'll fact check me. They'll put warning labels on it, but we're going to be sneaky. We're going to be sneaky. Cisco found a way to go around. I'm going to tell the truth. All right. And again, I hope you'll find some characters in there that really, inspire you. You might see a little of you in some of these people. And, the women that were there, the people, yes, there were still slaves then. The stories of them going to join and to fight is just absolutely, it's inspiration from, the word go. To the very end, and I highly recommend, no matter where you are. Okay, here is this. This is the free link, as you can see, to Liberty, and it is. Let's see, it's not very big. Make it a little bigger. I can't make it bigger, but it is on archive.org, and that's archive.org, and just put in Liberty episode 1, and it should pop up. So just Google it or put it in your browser. There are 6 episodes. They run about 56 minutes apiece. Very well done. 1997 on PBS out of California. You could have knocked me over with a stick. I'm telling you right now. It blew my mind that in 1997, they were putting this kind of stuff out on TV. It's going by, it's as historically accurate as many people on here are trying to, there might be a little, I don't know if this happened like this, but I'll tell you what, this happened and everybody agrees on that. So there's not very much veering from facts. There's not a lot of regurgitation about old, things that we take for granted that are true, like seeing like things like Betsy Ross in the room slaving over, sewing the flag together. Listen, the stature of Betsy Ross at the time, friends with George Washington, she was in the room But honey, her servants and other people were sewing that flag. You know what I mean? You have to get to know some of these people because they were just like us. They were just like us, so many of them. But here it is, and let's see if I can play a little. This guy right here, I remember him, and it's probably back, like we said, in the 90s. It's probably one of the last great decades for TV, too, because watch the caliber of this. I hope it plays good.
Liberty on KCET is made possible by our members and the following. Foothill Capital Corporation, one of America's leading asset-based lenders, providing financing to companies across the United States.
Our generation, and perhaps our whole land, drowned in blood.
I got to run that back. Here we go.
Company.
Sorry, guys. You got to see that part. It's beautiful.
The Democracy Project.
The Republic.
Coming up on Liberty.
The taxes and duties imposed on us by Parliament must be instantly opposed.
England stirs emotion in her colonies.
I do not, however, want to drive them to despair, only to submission.
And America stirs up Boston Harbor.
Our cause is righteous, but I see our generation, and perhaps our whole land, drowned in blood.
Liberty, the American Revolution, is brought to you by Norwest, banking, mortgage, and consumer finance. We care about our communities and the value of education, and are proud to support this series. Norwest, to the nth degree.
Remember when TV
Major
used to be like
funding
this?
is also provided by the National Endowment for the Humanities, expanding America's understanding of who we were, who we are, and who we will be. The Arthur Vining Davis Foundations.
Remember when
The
the
Eberly
channel used to
Foundation.
be this way?
The Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and by annual financial support from viewers
Get on
like
with it,
you.
girl. Come on. Yes, they are, darling. Yes, they are. I still stand for that.
Hello, I'm Forrest Sawyer. Welcome to our series, Liberty.
Good old Forrest
We live in
Sawyer,
a time
guys.
of fast-breaking news, which seems very far from the 18th century world, the subject of this series. Yet if you pick up a newspaper on any given day, you'll see items very familiar to the people who launched this country. Issues like taxes, freedom of speech, and the big theme that runs through this entire series, power. The power that government has over our lives. This series covers a span of 25 extraordinary years, a period when Americans transformed themselves from subjects of a king to citizens of a separate nation. And on the way, they devised a totally new system of government. Nothing's more surprising than the beginnings of the conflict. The founding fathers, like George Washington, were wealthy patricians. The last thing they wanted was a revolution. Yet the rich and powerful came to lead this uprising, one which would ultimately turn their privileged society upside down. As in all history, at the time, nobody knew where they were going, and they certainly didn't know how everything would turn out. But without intending it, they came up with the most revolutionary idea of the modern world, the idea that without kings and noblemen, ordinary people could govern themselves.
Well, now, imagine that. So there you go, folks. That's liberty. Now, again, you know, it might be that, you know, you're so jaded on TV and things like that, you just can't even watch things like this anymore, and it doesn't do anything for you. And I understand. But here's the thing. I'm trying to find a way to tell our truth and to get it out there and to inspire you as light workers to keep moving forward, to keep going and promoting peace. And hey, I'm here. I count. I care about these animals. I care about this nature. I care about my connection to the light and all that is in it. I care about what's right and good. I care about, vets on the street. I care about homeless. I have common sense. And of course, you're supposed to take care of what is in your neighborhood before you reach outside and help strangers. That sounds cruel and callous, but how can you help outside of your home if your home is in disarray and chaos? These are common sense facts, folks. They're as true today as they were in 1776, 75, 65, and the 16 years before, and how everybody started talking and was bothered and things weren't right. Something ain't right. We're working and we're doing this and we're not getting anywhere, and what's wrong? Yes, there was a lot of wrong going on. Yes, there were displaced indigenous peoples that had their struggles and their worries and their horrors and their diseases and their dislike for the colonists, and rightfully so. They were constantly tired of being pulled back and forth in everybody else's war. French and Indian War, this one here, guns for hire there, only to be turned back or turned against. They were tired of being lied to. There were so many things. But at this time, they will come in and out because they are part of this story. But this was a time that needs to be told as it happened, warts and all. Because if we do not learn from history, we are destined to repeat it. We have to look and see how protests that wound up, at the wrong time and tensions are high, how they can go wrong. Ohio State, Boston Massacre. We can see how propaganda started, how even somebody I respect an awful lot, Paul Revere, took that famous picture of the Boston Massacre and made it a little more one-sided to stir up the populace because they were being complacent. Propaganda. Even when it's used for a good reason, you would think, or your person would think, because you believe in it, it's still propaganda. So I think that through all of this, it's no telling what's in our future, and it's no telling what our summer is going to look like. But as long as I can keep putting this out, and I can put out this, and keep doing the paranormal and stuff too. This is going to be something extra we're doing. It's our summer project, and Lynn is going for the ride. She is very excited about it. And again, I know she's going through a lot tonight. I have no idea what's going on with her dog. He's going to be fine. I'm putting out that energy. And, but I wanted to say that she was excited about this too. Wanted to be here tonight to tell you about it. And I'm sorry you just got me, but here we are. I managed to mumble on for almost 2.5 hours, and I'm so glad so many of you are still here. I hope you want to do this. I hope you'll come along for the ride. There it is again, right there. It is Liberty, and it is on archives.gov. And watch it. We're going to watch a couple and then come and do an episode on it. We'll probably watch about 3 and come in and bring it in and start introducing all the characters. And I'm going to bring in different things they said. What I love about this little Liberty series that they did was they have all the different actors coming in, and everything the actors are saying comes directly from the journals, documents, and things that were said by the individuals that they're playing. And it's very well done, and it comes from the perspective of the townspeople and how, just going down to collect water or do whatever they have to do in their daily chores, not knowing if they can talk to their friend, at the market or whatever they're doing, because they don't know where this person stands, or they do know where that person stands. And they're kind of over here going, I don't want to let them know how I feel because I don't know who they know. This was a very tumultuous time. And all of these things called, to move into the shadows and to send secret things back and forth. And this is where pseudonyms started, and people having different names like we do now. And look, in different chat groups and stuff, people have all these, made up names or pseudonym. And this is a lot where it's, a lot of that started. Your ciphers and your different ways that they would pass messages and stuff, and the dangers in it. A lot of people don't know that the 56 people that signed the Declaration of Independence, and I've talked about this before on my show, When they signed that paper, they knew they were dooming themselves. Like Ben Franklin said, he said, if we all do not hang together, we most assuredly will hang separately. He knew how important it was to stand in the group. He knew how important it was, united we stand, and a house divided against itself cannot. This is where the flag join or die comes from. The flag that has the snake that is all chopped into pieces, and it has the 13 colonies together. This is when the 13 colonies, there was a moment in time where everybody's clock got set at the same time. They got synchronized. Because at this time, the 13 colonies kind of saw them, each one of their states, as their own country. Virginia was definitely, the boss. It was the first colony, and they were so established, and they had all the farmland and all the, important people, and the George Washington and all these, famous people that were famous amongst the colonies then. But here was the thing. No matter how famous, how rich, or whatever their stature was in the colonies, they still, to the crown, to Britain, were merely commoners and just a silly little experiment. And we needed to stand in line and listen to the rules and play by those rules and don't color outside the lines. And there was a couple of men that met over some really bad beer and some great conversation that had really just had enough. And well, friends, I'm sure a lot of us are there. So if we can do this, and we can talk about this through the summer, it might give you a little bit of an outlet. It might give you a little bit of inspiration. It might give you a little knowledge. It might give you a chance to come in and bring your knowledge in, because we want you involved in the conversation. If your favorite character is George Washington and you have some stories about that, you want to talk about the paranormal, supernatural involved around that man, it's quite a bit of it, and we're going to bring it up. There's a lot of different areas we can cover here, and we're going to cover it all from the beginning. What just happened? There is no end, because we continue on today. And here we are. All these decades and decades time. Have we really changed? We still want the same things. We still want to be free. We still want to be able to say the things we want to say. And we don't, we know how to conduct ourselves. We have morals. We seem to get along great for a long time. We always had angst. I watched a little bit of Hair the other day. I can remember back in the 60s how men in suits that carried briefcases and met at the water cooler and made their quotas and were accountants and many different things would absolutely freak out if a group of young men with long hair and bell bottoms walked into a restaurant. Just like, talk about clutching your pearls. Why don't you get a haircut? That's what that whole play was about. And as crazy as it was, it made me think of, no matter what decade, there were always, the elders always look back with the kids today with their hair and their music. Doesn't matter what decade you look at. But there was always something, there was always a core value amongst people that just wanted to live and go to work and be able to pay their bills and take care of their families and, maybe get a car every 5 years or, get a house. What's happened? Why can't one person pay for that anymore? What's happened? Well, obviously there needs to be some kind of a brake being tapped around here. What happened back then to get things going? Because it seems like there's an awful lot of similarities, and that's what we're going to talk about. And it's history. We should be able to talk about it. We should be able to say the way it happened, and we shouldn't have to worry about that. Meanwhile, that Lynn and Cisco are going to, and I know this chat, we're all going to sneak in our little stuff and our little similarities along the way. And I think it'll be a nice little outlet. Maybe it'll feel like a little way of getting a little bit of that steam out, because I think it's going to be a hot summer and it's going to get kind of steamy, and we're going to need an outlet, and we're going to need something to look forward to. So I hope this interests you. I hope it's something you want to do, but I'm going to try to keep it separate from the regular Sunday if I can. Depends on how things go with Lynn and I, but I would like to add another night if I can. I'll let you know how all that goes. And that way we can still have our regular thing and keep this special, almost like a history book club, but we're going to watch a show. So there it is. And before we go, I'm going to show you one more little clip, kind of get you excited, because if you've never seen this, it's very, very well done. Let me see if I can find the right one. Which one is this? I'm sorry, guys. It's hard to see this. You'd be surprised. Let me see if this is it. Here's here. Okay. Woo! Still going. Still going. Okay. So that's turn. And in between there, we have Sons of Liberty. And I lost that one. I'll show you that one on the next one. It's very exciting. These people existed. Abraham Woodhull, Talmadge, Brewer. He's my favorite. He was a whaler. Amazing what he did. Just amazing things, that the feats that some of these people did. All of these people stood up. Abraham Woodhull was a cabbage farmer who just had enough. And as you see, the young lady there is playing a character who existed, Anna. And, you know, people, women were involved in this too. So everybody stood up, everybody did their part, whether they stood back and they took care of the homestead and dealt with the smallpox that came through, or they dealt with this thing that came through, whatever it was, they handled it and they took it on, and they took it head on, and they stood, and they knew for some reason they were here for this time to be a part of history. Do you feel it? Let's do this. Thank you for being here with me tonight. Thank you for being a nice part in the chat. I don't know what was going on. I hope there wasn't an argument, because again, I'm going to warn you guys. I'm going to tell you this. As a light worker, you're going to have so many things coming in. You're going to have to start recognizing, hey, that's just trying to wind me up. I'm not going to, I'm not going to get involved in that over there. I'm going to walk away. I'm not going to take that phone call. I'm not in the mood. I'm going to take care of me. I'm going to self-care. I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to eat the good cookie. I'm going to watch the show. I'm going to do something that makes me feel good. Play guitar on the porch, feed the birds, do all the positive things that refeed your light. So again, what I want to do is, anybody that wants to participate, we're going to do the circle. Everybody's going to lean in. Just imagine whatever you need to, but I'm picturing tapered candles that are lit in a circle in a dark room. So let's take ourselves there. And then I'm going to lean my candle, and you do the same. And I'm going to lean it to the right. And I'm going to dip into the candle to my right. And I'm going to feed their flame. And then they're going to lean. And they're going to feed the flame of the candle to their right. And then visualize all the candles around the circle, leaning in, feeding the light of the one standing next to you, until you have one continuous circle of flame, becoming one, becoming a circle of light, and moving through the circle. And everyone feeling that light, drawing in that energy. And then each candle stand up on its own and become its own individual flame again, but still a part of the collective light. And there we are. Deep breath in. Let it out. And come back. I send out happy light, happy bright light, and happy energy, prayers, and well-being for Lynn and anybody else that's hurting tonight. We send our energy out in agreement. out into the universe, collect in from source, bring it back in, fulfill your own light, because self-care has to be first before we can reach out and help others, and our light is refilled. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for listening to my dribble. I am sorry that we had the last minute thing, but you know what? You gotta adapt and overcome. If you're getting visits from light beings, ask them what they want. Ask your spirit guides for help. Ask your angels and your elders for help. They're waiting there to assist you. They're not going to do it for you. They're just going to give you little hints along the way. I hope you receive those, and I hope that you get pictures of elementals and nature coming to say thank you for the bird seed, and thank you for caring, and thank you for sending out good thoughts and ideas. And I hope when Lynn comes on again, she can spend some time telling you the stories, because there was some really good information in there, but it's hers to share. So I'm going to let her do that. And I love you so much. It was great dribble. Thank you. I have premium dribble. Just saying. It's like 62 years of bartending and customer service. I've, and being in dark basements with really scary things has taught me a few things. But thank you so much for being here and giving me a reason to be here on Sunday night. And it's also works for me throughout the weeks, because I get so excited when I'm getting ready to share something with you guys. And I had a blast doing Lewis and Clark, and I was really touched by how many people came back and emailed me and stuff. I said they never even knew about the story, and they look at it all different, and I ask you again, Lewis and Clark, if you were asked to do that, could you do it? Would you do it? Would you want to? We're going to ask that question when we're doing Liberty, and that's what I'm going to call the entire series. Liberty, Sons of Liberty, turn for liberty. Everybody listening tonight deserves that. Your personal liberty and your liberty to live where you live in peace and harmony with your neighbor, the people you work with, and the people that are making the rules. And if they're not making the right rules, then maybe we need to get new people making rules. We need to sort that. And we certainly don't need to stand for being pushed. Okay? Make a difference. Make a difference today. Make a bird a sandwich. I love you. Thank you for being here. Tomorrow night, Steve Stockton. Got no idea what we're talking about, but Steve and I never run out of things to say. So there you go. That's what you got to look forward to for tomorrow night. And for tonight, if you got a little blues, you shouldn't now. You should feel pretty good. I suggest you kick off your shoes and dance them away. Good night, everybody. Thanks for being here. Be good humans. Good night. Please look into Liberty. The link is going to be here. I'm going to drop it for you. If you want to watch it, it's a hell of a story. I think you're really going to enjoy it. And I'm going to try to find a way to share as much of that live with you as I can. And I'm going to see if we can do one of those where we're doing like a reaction where we bring out parts and we watch a little bit of it together too. I think that'll be possible with Liberty. It's going to be a little harder with Turning Sons of Liberty, but we'll worry about that when we get there. I love you guys. Good night. Subscribe. Hit the like. For the love of gosh. Jeez, oh Pete's, hit the like. Good night.